Saladin is a set of two war games based on the same game system and depicting two iconic battles of the Middle Ages, both involving Saladin and his forces. We have Hattin and Arsuf. It is a two-player war game, or two-player set of two war games. It can also be played solo, I guess, because there's no secret information, a lot of die rolls, but the units kind of interact in a somewhat intricate way, and I think it may be better playing it two players. At least I played it this way, and you know that I play games two-handed solo all the time. I wonder if there could be a way of writing a simple AI to play true solo, automatizing one of the two sides. In any case, two-player war game, or war games in essence. Saladin and his forces versus the Crusaders. The board is really nice looking. It is a mounted board, and it's double-sided. On this side you see Hattin, so we have the Crusaders that are being besieged, surrounded, and they will set up here in the center of the area. And Saladin and his forces are coming from around here. There are some unique rules in both scenarios. For example, here this group controlled by the Saladin forces can start the fire and then stoke the fire during the game. The forces of Lusignan, the commander here, can move from here to this area, the Horn of Atene. They may be forced to do so if they get desperate enough, and there are pluses and minuses in doing so. The other side shows Arsuf, this time with the Crusaders being here along the coast and being attacked by Saladin's forces from this direction. We got the fortress of Arsuf with two of Saladin's units there at the beginning, and they have captured an action token of the Crusaders. We'll see what that means. Just to give a general sense of sort of like the architecture of both situations, of both battles. So you see these slots here, they represent where the forces, the lances of the players will go. And the forces are represented by these wooden sticks, which looks super neat because once you set up the game, it really looks like a military map from a history book. I love it. It's a mechanism I've seen from time to time. I think the game 1815 about Waterloo is possibly one of the first ones. Oh no, there were earlier games that did that, but that's one that I remember distinctly. So it's pretty neat. Now, there are two kinds of spaces where these forces go. Some have a yellow band, as you can see from there, and some have a white band associated with them. They represent different positions in which a force can go, and the forces that can move, they can physically move. In particular, these Crusaders, they like their charges. So the yellow/sand spaces represent a unit that is uncommitted and can maybe attack by skirmishing, by using arrows. But the same force, as you can see from the icon being the same, may also be in a deployed, committed state, and then you move it there, and they can do different things, and they're also exposed to different kind of dangers. Let's put some of Saladin forces also there. For example, here we have the Al-Aldin forces up there. Here we go. They just look very nice, very nice. Now, as units take hits, you will remove the sticks, the lances from the board, and you will do it in a specific order. When a force takes a hit, you remove forces from bottom to top and from left to right. That's important because by removing those forces, you will uncover icons which are not good. If you can see that icon, it means that activating forces from Bourgogne, which is this group here, will cost you an extra action for anything that you're trying to do. And ultimately, elimination of enemy units is how you achieve victory by causing chaos in the forces of the opponent. When units are eliminated, they go in this display here, and when the display is full with 6, With 6, the controlling side loses an action token out of the game. These are discarded, and then you start filling it again. Action tokens are the heart of the game. They're represented by these tokens. You will have a number of them based on the scenario instructions. And when you're taking actions, you need to spend them. So you place them from your personal pool to a spent action tokens area. There are also, however, game effects such as that one that will cause you to discard them out of the game. And that is the worst thing that can happen, because that's how you win the game. Whichever player places their last action token out of the game loses the game. So that's ultimately what they're trying to do, to get their action tokens out of the game. Actions, so how do you spend them? The capabilities of the fighting units are represented by those cards that you see up there. I placed them all together, but of course, in the real game, you would have one on each side of the board facing the owning player. Each side has a pool of cards, again representing what their units can do. And each side also has an overall commander. Turn structure is very simple. When it is your turn, you will choose one of your units to activate or your commander. If you choose a commander, perform one of the available actions, such as recover a spent action token, add a die to a dice, replace a lost stick. And after you're done, you flip it face down and you cannot activate again for this turn. When you activate a unit, you can choose the action you want it to take based on the committed/uncommitted status. Remember, depending on whether they are in an area with a white band underneath or a sand band underneath. And so when they are uncommitted, they could push, they could regroup, they could route. Why would you ever choose routing? Well, you don't really. You may be stuck doing it, because each unit must activate at least once per turn. So I select the unit, and then I flip it face down. Now, there's still actions, so I can activate it more if I pay the corresponding cost, but I don't have to. So it may be that if I don't have enough actions left later in the game, or I didn't budget my actions correctly, I have some units that still have to activate when I don't have any actions left to activate them. Then, since I have to activate everybody, I'm stuck with the 0 actions, which are of course terrible. Say, if I am committed, then the 0 action is I'm launch an uncontrolled charge, which will detach me at the end. See the change in status, but also will only inflict 1 die on the opponent, and I'm taking 2 dice of damage in the process. And so it's kind of neat and really historic that you have sometimes to spend active effort. You have to make an active effort just for these people to stand still. If you don't do that, they may just rout and the opponent will roll 3 dice against me. So that's the idea. I select one of my troops, spend the corresponding cost if I have action points, flip it face down, then the opponent chooses one of their troops, does the same. Again, if the card that you have activated is to its spent side or to its ordered side, and you have action points, you can activate it again. Very neat. But later in the game, actions become really scarce, and you will be spending most of your agency just trying not to let them rout, just to make sure that everybody activates at least once. Once everybody has activated at least once, then and all cards are face down, and everybody passes, because again, technically your cards may be face down, but you don't have to pass if you have actions left. So the turn is over when both players pass, which must be after all of their units have been used at least once. On that point, everybody goes back to their healthy status and or ready status, and you start the next turn. Each turn, starting from the second, players will lose 1 action token by default, just because they're getting tired. Also, if you eliminate an enemy unit entirely, you just wipe them out, you collect their banner. At the beginning of a turn, they lose an extra action token for each banner that they lost, which is massive. Once you have that, you get the general idea, which is, select an action, pay the cost, flip the card face down if it's not face down yet, and resolve the actions. And the actions may be to move from one sector of the battlefield to the other, to support units, move sticks from one force to the other, but the most common action will be to roll dice against the opponent. Saladin's forces also have some reactive abilities that the opponent doesn't, just because of their high mobility. And so, say, if the Crusaders are charging that unit, then they can choose to take that action, pay the corresponding cost, and they cancel the original action, and you resolve this one instead. Actions very often will mean to roll dice. Also, these cards will tell you, see these arrows, who can be attacked by a certain unit and who can attack that unit. So basically where you can project your fighting power. Richard can attack that unit and can be attacked or intercepted by that unit, for example. Combat will be rolling dice. So the green dice have results applied against the Crusaders, and the red dice belonging to Crusaders are project their result against Saladin's forces. The results are pretty simple and intuitive. Blank means nothing. Here means the target unit loses 1 lance, loses 2 lances, the side loses an action. And so suppose that's what we're doing. These units are forced to launch an uncontrolled charge. Then the Crusaders roll 1 die. Saladin's forces roll 2. Implement the damage by removing sticks and placing them in these places here. And that's how it works. This is how you play Saladin. I love this game, or these games, so much. This is such a good set. It looks beautiful, the production is impressive, the rulebook is really well laid out, and most importantly, gameplay is excellent. It achieves a great degree of historical accuracy, especially when it comes to the dynamics of combat at this time, with such a simple rule set. The idea that what units can do is written on the cards, it means that a lot of historical detail has been taken care of for you. It's hardwired right there. You don't have to remember, well, what is the rule of when cavalry launches an uncontrolled charge? It's there. You read it. It's written in the options of who can attack whom and when and how, and based on how much command has been given there. Again, to me, that this game really shows the problem of military operations at this time, where you have, of course, problems in communication. They just, somebody misunderstood an order and never received it. Or they don't care. They don't have such a tight vertical hierarchical chain of command as we have nowadays, and so the leader of a certain group, maybe a religious fighting order, they just go if they think that's the right time, if honor demands that, if their understanding of the situation leads them to do that. The fact that you actively had to tell these Crusaders, please do not charge now, it just comports with a lot of what we know about the history of the period. It's just, to me, incredible. And it's one of the reasons why I play historical war games, is to see history in action. And when you have a game that shows you the dynamics so well, in such an elegant and simple manner, well, to me, then you really have achieved something. And it's not just, again, a pedagogical thing. The gameplay that emerges from it is very compelling, because it is easy to be overconfident at the beginning. I launch some powerful actions, I push here and I launch attacks there. But then the abilities of your men to follow orders and to do what they're supposed to degrades very fast. And later in the game, you're just you have the feeling that you're running around just trying to prevent them from routing. And so the second or last part of the game is very different from the beginning. There is definitely a strong narrative arc that emerges. Although gameplay is like choose an action and then perform it, choose another and then perform it. It may look like it's repetitive in its script, but the situation around it is just transformed so amazingly that ultimately you're hoping to inflict some good damage early on, to take out some groups early on, and then to hold on to your position while the opponent hopefully routes faster than your people are going to. And again, the different asymmetrical situation is captured very well with the mobility of Saladin forces, allowing them to intercept, to feint, to just trick the charging forces, with the Crusaders itching to charge every time that they can, and inflicting a ton of damage when they're able to do so. Very, very well captured here. And you got two games. Now, the two games, I like the Arsuf battle a lot better. Maybe I just read more about it. It's more interesting to me. But also just the way it's organized spatially. With the Hattin battle, which is a circular situation because you have the siege, it's simply a lot less practical to remove units, to see where everybody is, to remember that if your unit is facing you, now the bottom left is not the same as when the unit is right next to you and you're facing the same direction. I just happen from time to time to remove sticks, and I saw my friend also was removing sticks from the wrong parts of the board, of the land, so it took a little longer for us to figure out that your units are upside down. The linear situation over Suf makes it just a little more playable. But if that's the only negative I can think of, trust me, that's not much of a negative at all. In general, I'm super impressed with Saladin. Two games that show you history in the making, and they are easy and fun to play. To me, that's quite an achievement.